back to, I think this is the 55th edition of the University of Dutch. And we're doing it a little bit different this time. Oh, wait a minute. I don't mean to be rude, John, but let me introduce. Did we start late?
No,
It
you're
started
good.
again.
No, you're good.
No, I said, okay. Well, okay, I got it. Let me introduce my co host for today's show. Very knowledgeable. And in a lot of ways, he knows a lot more than I do about the world of professional wrestling. I know more about the inside workings, and John knows more about the outside working. But that is what it is. But so what I'm doing now, we're doing a recap of some of the TNA's, I guess, greatest pay-per-views. I guess that's a good way to name it.
Right.
And so we're doing the Final Destination 2007, which was 15 years ago. So when John and Larry, the two brains behind this operation, they started talking to me about doing a podcast. And remember, John, I told you, I said, I'm just burnt out. I'm just burnt out on podcast.
Yep.
They said, no. A lot of people want to hear about the TNA years and the backstage workings, and so I'll do my best. So this was taped at Universal Studios in Orlando, Florida. And what was that date it was taped, John? I got January the 7th, 2007. Was that it?
January 14th, 2007.
January 14th.
And your favorite, what was the pay-per-view buy rate? That's your favorite question.
I don't see it.
35K, 35,000 is the supposed number that they have out there.
But where does that number come from?
I don't know. Maybe Dixie leaked it. Maybe she leaked it to Wade Keller. I don't know.
Yeah, but it was never, even if it was leaked to Wade Keller, even back in those days, I would have heard about it. I didn't hear about it. I never heard one pay-per-view buy rate, and I was there like 8 years. I never heard one buy rate, not one.
But it's funny. I was talking to Mike Weber from Fight TV, and he said he doesn't give out the numbers of the shows, but Meltzer somehow got the number of like how many pay-per-views they did on Fight TV. It was AEW or GCW or something, and he said Meltzer was like almost like dead on with some of the numbers, but he's the one that has the numbers. So somebody in his camp that he doesn't know leaked the number. So somebody leaked it out somewhere along the line that they're able to have some semblance of a number, I guess.
I'm sure Meltzer, as long as he's been in the business, he has some contacts at that pay-per-view company.
Oh yeah, that could be.
And he might slip them something. Hey, just give me a number. Don't have to be the exact number, just close to it.
A range, yeah, definitely.
Yeah. So if they come back and they said, how did they get that number? And say it's 35. Well, he gave 33. He said, I don't know, because if I'd have given it, the guy in the pay-per-view office might say, I would have given him the total number. I would have given them 35. So anyway, who knows how it works? But just to catch the people up on what we did on pay-per-view weekend, a very busy weekend, we would go in there, pay-per-views on a Sunday. We'd fly into Orlando International Saturday afternoon. And I'd always have a town car waiting on me. So I would just go, and it's sitting right outside the baggage claim. I'd just go get in it, and whoever else was with me or that took that same flight, we'd all take it to the hotel. And it was the DoubleTree right at the opening gate, or very close to the main gate at Universal. And it was a DoubleTree, nice hotel. And about Saturday night, the rest of creative would come in, Vince would come in, Jeff would come in. I forgot who else was on creative then. And of course, during those creative years, we would add some people and then they'd drop off. Sometimes Jeremy Borash was in the group. Sometimes at one point, Abyss was in the group. So, and we'd all go up and meet in a room, somebody's room. I think probably Jeff's, because he'd have a suite. I'd just have a regular old room. So we'd go in there and we would talk about if there was any last minute changes, or anything that we thought needed to be changed. Which I'm going to go on record now saying I didn't much like this pay-per-view at all for various reasons. And then I kind of watched it. Then I realized why I didn't much like it. Because on this pay-per-view, there's like 3 gimmick matches. And I think that's too much for a regular pay-per-view card. And now if it's like a big one, say a TNA WrestleMania, which I don't know what their WrestleMania was called. What was your big pay-per-view called?
Bound for Glory.
Anniversary, Bound for Glory.
And then Slammiversary was another big one, but Bound for Glory was supposed to be their WrestleMania.
Well, unless it's really, really a big show, I think you can overdo these gimmick matches. And a lot of people don't, I don't know how many knows about a pay-per-view, the parameter for a pay-per-view. But they're usually like three hours long. Like WrestleMania years ago was 3 hours, and SummerSlam is 3 hours. And now it doesn't matter. Now they can go 5 hours if they want to.
Right.
But the pay-per-view companies, they want something like 3 hours, and we were allotted, and we could go like 2 hours and 58 minutes or 59. You can almost go down to the second. But rest assured that when it hit 3 hours, they just flip the switch. You're gone. So, but we were only obligated to do 2 hours and 45 minutes. But I think the brain trust in TNA said, well, let's give them more than that. Let's give them almost all the 3 hours, which I had no problem with, as long as the matches were had the quality that could carry the 3 hours. So that's what we tried to do. Now, I was listening to 2 guys. Of course, they had to do this 15 years ago. Brian Alvarez was one of them. And who was doing, I guess, the TNA recap? You wouldn't know. You wouldn't remember, would you? Like 15 years ago?
Would it be Meltzer, or I'm not even sure.
No, it wasn't Meltzer.
Alvarez. No?
I'm pretty sure it wasn't Meltzer. Meltzer has a distinctive voice that makes you want to reach over and slap the shit out of him right away without even seeing him. I take that back. That's mean. My mama told me never to do that. But no,
Right.
And I'm listening to him, and he hated this pay-per-view. He just hated it. And I got to thinking about it. Well, he can hate it if he wants to. We try to put our best foot forward. And I've come to the analogy that putting on a pay-per-view is like practicing for a football game on Saturday, college football game, or a pro football game on Sunday. You go out there and you plan to put your best plays forward, and sometimes you get slaughtered. Sometimes you just get stomped on. You didn't plan it that way, but that's the way it comes out. And if it does come out in a bad way, and somebody knocks, and you've heard football fans and basketball fans, a team that gets beat that should have made a decent showing, the fans are brutal. Oh, they suck, man. I don't know what was that coach thinking, you need to fire him. But see, they can do that. They're paying customers. They can have an opinion. I don't blame them. If I don't like something, I say I just don't like it. But after I reviewed this show, I have to say that maybe Alvarez wasn't 100% wrong. They had a few good spots in it, but I was disappointed in it. I was disappointed in our planning for it, and I was disappointed in the execution of it. But the execution can only be as good as the planning behind it. So, and remember I told you one time, John, that when a territory does good, say this pay-per-view had done great, everybody be saying, man, those guys did great. But it didn't do great. And it was the same guys in the ring. All they say then is, boy, what is creative doing?
Right.
This sucks. Creative sucks. See, creative gets all the blame while the talent, gets all the glory if it's good. Seems like it should be shared a little bit. And I've said this before. I've been on several creative teams. It's the most thankless job in the world. The most thankless. And somebody asked me if WWE called you tomorrow and said they wanted you to come up to be on the creative team, would you take it? And I say, well, according to how many zeros are after that primary numbers. They had some zeros there, I would go give it a shot. Right. But if it don't have several zeros in there with a 2 or 3 in front of it a lot, it's not worth my time. I mean, it probably would be worth my time, but it's not worth the aggravation because you're in a bad mood more than you're in a good mood. And I never have reacted favorably to somebody yelling at me. And I heard Vince as a screamer and a yeller and stomper and he throws stuff. And I don't operate that way. All right, so let's get started. What's the first match, John?
So we had 2 dark matches. Jason and Johnny Riggs defeated Serotonin, which was Havoc and Kazarian. And then Lance Hoyt defeated Chase Stevens in about 2 minutes. Those were the both pre-show
they were
matches.
Dark matches, right?
Yep.
Well, what we should have done is turned out the ring lights. Made it completely dark in there so nobody could see anything, and then just kill the time that way. I didn't see those matches because I didn't hear a review about it, nor was it on the show. But I liked Lance Archer. What is Lance's name now?
Lance Archer now. It was Lance Hoyt.
Yes, he's a good guy. Big old boy, too. So who did he work with?
Chase Stevens.
That was a good match. Chase is he's a good guy. They probably had a decent match. Probably good.
Short
so, have you ever been to Orlando for the taping?
Yes. A few times.
It's a good setup. It's a great
I like
setup.
it in there. It's pretty cool. Yeah.
You know, it's kind of, it seats about, they said, I've seen maybe 900 in there.
Yep.
Which is a lot of people in that little space. And what amazed me about the fans in Orlando was they're not, some of them are not even fans. On the pay-per-view weeks, they were all fans. But during the weeks that we were just shooting Impact, you know, they were mostly tourists. Mostly tourists because you didn't have to buy a ticket to Universal to come to it because you could park your car and it was on the way in to buy the ticket. You could just say, hey, if you want to come. And you come and sit down and enjoy the show. But, and I actually got a lot of good vibes off those people who are not really hardcore fans, because if they would respond to something, that was fans. That was non-fans responding to something. So if non-fans responded, you know the real hardcore wrestling fans would too. So that was a good sign. And that's one of the things about being a booker, not necessarily shooting pay-per-views, but say you were running an arena every week, every 2 weeks, you have to listen to your crowd. You have to listen to what they respond to. You got to kind of be like a politician. If you say something and they pop to it, then your next speech, you got to go back to it. Then they pop to it. Then if they keep popping to it, you got something.
Right.
So if you send a guy out there sight unseen and they kind of get with him a little bit, well, he's got something. I call it chemistry. And if you keep that in mind, that will help you a lot when you're booking this guy, whoever he is. So the first match was AJ Styles versus Rhino, correct?
Yes.
Last man standing match. Well, what I disagreed with this is it was on first. I think AJ Styles is much too good of a talent to go on first. And the reasons for putting him first was he would get the crowd up. Well, that's okay. That's good. But in watching the match, then we end up beating AJ, not by pin, but did you watch the pay-per-view? Did you watch the match?
He couldn't get up by the 10 count.
And then, and what happened then? They had a table there or something? Or
Yep. He basically hit him with the 2 gores, and and basically he couldn't get up, couldn't answer the 10 count. No pinfalls.
Okay, so you had to get up by 10?
Yep.
There were no pinfalls in it?
Right.
It just you had to answer by 10, right?
Yeah. So I guess, is that a way to keep AJ strong where he loses without having to get pinned?
Well, maybe, but I don't know. Remember I said I didn't agree with a lot of this.
Why does he lose,
See,
too? You got to wonder. I know they're continuing the feud because they'll feud on to the next month, but do you like AJ losing here?
I didn't like him losing in that manner. He could have lost the match, but I think it needed a little more teeth in it. But it's a gimmick match. See, this card had 3 gimmick matches, which I think is too many gimmick matches for one card. Because what do you focus on? And as you go on through the card, then it becomes like ad nauseum, just more of the same, just different guys. So, and I never booked like that. I always booked preliminary matches. To me, were preliminary matches. See, I've been in some territories, say like Mid-Atlantic. They tell the first 3 matches, you can't do this and you can't do that, and you gotta. They purposely had you hold it down because they knew what your last 3 matches were going to do. They were going to open it up. Therefore, the people can see the difference between the first 3 matches and the last 3 matches, which makes sense. So if you go out there, and Randy Savage used to tell me this, he said, you'd go out there, and he said, I'd try to hold it down, but he said the people would get with me. And he said, I'd come back a lot of times. They said, didn't we tell you to hold it down? He said, hey, I can't hold the people down. I tried to hold my stuff down. I can't help if they get up.
Right.
And he was right. He was right. But this match leading off, it's a gimmick match leading off. I didn't like it. The match was so. I mean, and AJ he's flawless. I think he was flawless when I saw him for the first time, and he'd only been, I don't know who trained him or where he even got trained, but he's athletic as he can be, and there's nothing the guy can't do. I'm very impressed with AJ.
Did you see a recent interview with him that he had?
He was doing one with some guy, and only at a desk. What's he saying?
Well, I don't know if that was the interview or not, but I was just reading it on Cage Side Seats, so I don't know if they took it from somewhere or if they actually interviewed him. But he was saying at first Vince McMahon was like, all right, I guess we'll debut this guy in the Royal Rumble because, yeah, I guess somebody in creative had mentioned that they wanted him to do that. Like, I don't know if I see anything in this guy. And then when he saw him in the Rumble, he got a big pop. He's like, I don't know if I want to book him the next night. And then slowly, as he started to see him more and more, now he gets paid like $2 million a year. So it's like one of those things where Vince didn't even see it at first, and then Vince saw him wrestle a few times. He's like, all right, this guy, he's got the goods. Let's keep this guy around for a while and let's give him a nice hefty payday. But it's funny, sight unseen, or maybe just looking at him at first, Vince didn't know what he had.
Well, he likes size. We know he likes that. And he likes guys who can do good interviews. OJ, that's never been one of his strong suits anyway. His strong suit is his working ability and the things that he can do.
Yep.
And he's just great in the ring. He turned down an opportunity to go to WWE. I think it's still, when did they become WWE?
2002.
I think he turned down an offer to go to WWF then. Let me say that.
Right.
Because they didn't give him any money. They didn't offer him any money. He was like, I don't know, peanuts. Just like 35 grand a year, or maybe. But I don't even think they even put in the yearly total. It was just a weekly total. So he said, hell, I can do that and just independence if I just want to go and be an idiot. So, and that's why he went to Impact, and then he went to Japan, and he was going to go back to Impact, I think, and then I think that's when WWE grabbed him.
Yep.
Because he made a big splash in Japan. Good guy, really good guy, and he's from Gainesville, Georgia, which is a town that I had a couple of my first matches in Gainesville. So I know that area well. So disappointed in the match, disappointed in the card, actually. But they worked hard. And I don't want to say anything about the talent because they worked their butts off. So, and that's all we can expect. What's the next match, John?
Chris Sabin defeating Christopher Daniels and Jerry Lynn in a three-way match for the TNA X Division Championship, about 12 minutes. Daniels was the champion going into the match.
And Sabin came out with it, right?
Yep.
Okay. That wasn't too bad because you didn't, when you had a new champion coming out of it, but still a three-way is still somewhat of a gimmick match.
And the main event is a three-way too. So the X Division title and the NWA World title both are three-ways, so very, very gimmicky, yeah.
And this was a gimmicky card.
Yep.
So
has somebody's imprints all over it. Well, you won't admit it, but it has somebody's imprints all over it.
Well, it was Vince's card, Vince and Jeff.
for sure.
Because but I would say, guys, isn't there something else we could put in there? And they'd say, what? And hell, I didn't have an answer. So we went with that. So, but when you have all the gimmick matches, well, it's not all the gimmick matches I can think of, but this card was like you said, a gimmicky card. So, but I saw some of the match the stuff they did was good.
Yeah.
Very good. And nothing wrong with that. But the thing about TNA, they like that X division, which all the guys were like, just like the 205 division in WWE. They're not big guys, but they're doing a lot of moves. And I guess there is an audience for that for a while. But you got to have a character come in to any division, any league or whatever, that's going to stand above and beyond what the X division was, and they never quite got that guy. They had Samoa Joe, but he was a heavyweight, working with the X division, and which is another faux pas, I guess you call it. Is that the word I'm looking for?
Yeah.
The FAUX, PAS. How do you say that word?
Faux pas, I guess.
How do you say that?
I think it's faux pas. I think, yeah.
I have no idea. But so we went back to back 2 gimmick matches. And again, I used to tell when I booked, I don't want to get redundant here, but I had preliminary matches for a reason and main event matches for a reason. I wanted a separation. So, and when you hear prelim, you say, well, we could really miss that. Well, you can. Till you come back to your seat and said, man, you missed this guy. Why? Who? And he made an impression. They said, well, his name is so-and-so and so-and-so. Oh, he's great. Really? So now the next time this guy comes out, you're going to be looking for him. So wrestling fans, they like to hear that stuff anyway, that you missed a really, really good performer. So be on the lookout next time you see it. So wasn't this the match that Jerry Lynn, what did they call him?
Jerry Lynn?
They called him something that kind of related to his age.
I don't remember.
That he thought made him sound old.
Maybe the grandfather of the X Division or something like that?
Something like that. I think he was, if you're going to get sensitive about your age or your weight, you can do something about the weight. You can't do anything about the age. And how old was Jerry then? He wasn't in his mid to late 30s then?
Yep, because I think he's in his 50s now. Yeah, so he's probably late 30s at this point.
Well, he thought it made him sound old. And then he went out and did an interview where he says, I'm going to teach these 2 young guys how it's done. So basically, he didn't agree with being called old. And then kind of out of he misspoke and told everybody, kind of, that he was an older guy.
And but Daniels is only 4 or 5 years younger than him.
How old is Daniels now, you think? He's 50,
just turned
right?
50. Yeah, just turned 50.
Well, But anyway, that's another a 3-way gimmick match.
Yep.
And see, while this show is going on, people can ask me, well, why don't you remember these matches? Brother, when you do, or I've seen 6,000, 7,000, 8,000 matches, they all run together after a while. Unless something is very, very special, like unless you've got Abdullah out there or, just maybe Flair or Hulk, or they have a tendency to run together. So I don't remember a lot of things. Plus, it may be the
agenting
result.
Too?
Am I what?
Agenting
yes, I was
too, like
agenting
producing? Too. Oh, so you got other duties going on.
A little bit. I was doing interviews more than anything else. But see, we had other agents too. Russo, I don't think ever produced one match. He would let the
not
agents
a strong
do
suit,
it.
Right?
Well, and I don't blame him there because that's not his strong suit.
Yep.
Strong suit is writing. So, you hear so much about Vince Russo. I'll say one thing that he's not. He's not lazy. He will work from sun up to sundown, and he'll work all night. Doesn't mean he's really good, but I'm not going to work all night.
Right.
Doesn't mean I'm any good either.
Right, yeah.
But I try. Okay, the next match as we're going along here, it is
Alex Shelley defeating Austin Starr, a.k.a. Austin Aries, in the Paparazzi Championship Series Finals in 15 minutes. Long match here.
Yeah, didn't we have – that was a good match. But didn't we have the judges there for that one?
So you had Samoan Joe, the fat, oily guy, and Bob Backlund.
Yeah. Well, I kind of contributed there because it's kind of a the judges were like kind of a joke anyway.
Well, yeah, of course.
Kevin Nash and the oily guy, we'd used him for something. Backlund, I forgot even while he was there. This is what I think happened. Dixie, and I like Dixie, but I think she was like a closet fan.
Yep.
She never said like she watched a lot of wrestling before, but when she heard Bob Backlund and he would, I forgot who brought his name in. It could have been Vince, I don't know. And she said, yeah, bring him in. So we put him in that spot. And they went to a table. And it looked so ridiculous, it was funny. But it was entertaining, I will say that. And Austin Starr, isn't that, what's his name now?
Austin Aries.
Aries, right. So bringing up Austin Aries, Vince told him one time, we went down there on a Saturday. Oh, I got it. Went down there, I forgot, but we had to stay over an extra day because the studio was taken on a Monday when we usually do taping. But we wanted to do something with Aries. And I never forget this. He told Vince, I don't work on my off days. Vince hit the ceiling. Oh, my God, I'm trying to do something with this guy. And he said, it's his off day. He's not coming in. But one thing, he never would cuss. He'd get frustrated, but he never would cuss. And I got along pretty good with Vince. Now, during this time you got to help me. Was Cornette in TNA at this time or no?
I believe he was still in TNA at this time. I
got a story. I got a story about that. I forgot why Russo kind of left. I think Dusty came in.
Yes. Dusty
came in and they sent Russo home. And he wanted to send me home. He wanted to get his own crew in there. But Jeff knew that if he got that, it'd be hard to get his his other guys back in there, and I was one of his guys. So, but that's why he went home. So when they released Dusty, I think it was me and Jeff, and he wanted, I think he wanted Cornette, because I like Jimmy. You know, he's sometimes goes off the rails, but that's Jimmy. So I remember when Russo was coming in, we were there on a Monday doing a Impact, and I says, Jimmy, can I talk to you a minute? And he looked at me like, why do you want to talk to me?
Mm-hmm.
Because, you know, when you tell somebody something and it's kind of serious, you know, your demeanor changes. Because I knew what he was going to say, and you'll figure it out right when I tell you. And I said, well, I want to be the first one to tell you, because he literally hated Vince Russo.
Right.
He still hates it. So I told him, I said, I just want to be able to tell you that before you hear it from somewhere else, I want to tell you that Vince Russo's coming back in. And he says, well, I quit. I said, no, don't quit. Don't quit. I ain't working with that SOB, blah, 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 blah. He started cussing. So you got to watch Jimmy, how far you push him initially, because he'll just go off.
Right.
I mean, he wasn't going off on me. He's just going off in general. I think he's got too much respect to me just to literally cuss me out, because I was like the first guy he ever managed. But then I got Jeff to talk to him, and finally he says, well, listen, keep him away from me, and I'll stay away from him, and we'll see how it works. So Jimmy stayed, and then Vince was civil to him. They actually spoke one day. They actually said hello, which I thought was really a milestone. You know, you see each other all day long, but you don't speak. And finally, they said hello to each other one day, which I thought was, wow, that's really breaking the ice. But at least much better than what they'd done before. And I forgot what happened. I think something happened to Jeff. Why did Jeff leave? I forgot.
Because of the whole Karen Angle situation eventually. And then Dixie, that whole controversy.
Then I got caught up in that. And then Cornette got caught up in that. So we were all out. And Sabio Vega, who was another agent, he got caught up in that. You know, the Karen Angle and the Jeff thing, that was a little touchy for a while.
Yeah.
But hey, it's people. I mean, things happen. She was already divorced anyway. And I think Dixie was looking for something, because her and Jeff, I call TNA the game that couldn't shoot straight. They never could really agree on a lot of stuff. So, I mean, Jeff was always the outlier in it. And you was on Jeff's side, you was on his side. You was just against them. So, but it wasn't boring, I'll say that.
Yeah, seems like a lot of.
It wasn't a boring job,
because
it was something every week. What's our next match here?
James Storm with your girl Gail Kim defeating Petey Williams in about 7 minutes. Finally, a non-gimmick match going on here.
Yeah.
Oh, I forgot to mention, Alex Shelley won the Paparazzi Championship. He got a bowling trophy from Kevin Nash. Forgot to mention that.
Hey, did you ever see those interviews that Kevin Nash did with Alex Shelley?
So good.
You need to go on. You need to go on. You've seen them?
Oh, yeah. There's one really funny one. I couldn't stop laughing. He was talking about how when he beat Backlund for the title, and Alex Shelley's like, on the edge of his chair listening to him. He's loving it. He goes, oh, I beat Backlund. He goes, there was 21,000 people in MSG. And then Alex Shelley goes, I thought it only held like 18. He goes, no. They oversold the building. They were standing room only.
Oh, yeah.
He goes, when I beat Backlund that night, so good.
I just told Kevin, listen, Kevin, this is what we had to do something with him, because we didn't have him figured in. I said, let's have him. This was my idea because you can tell by the bullshit. I said, Kevin, let's have you backstage and you're giving advice to the X division. And remember when he was talking in that German voice for no reason, and he had the pipe, and his name was some German name. It was, I didn't write anything down. I said, let's do it. We'll clip it. One take. And I said, it's good. Because I was laughing all the way through it. It was funny. It really was. So, and I think Shelley and and Kevin Nash, perfect pair together.
Yeah,
because everything Kevin said, Alex agreed with it. Then he'd say something smart ass, and Kevin look at him. Oh, I don't mean it that way, And it was
even
really,
the MSG thing is great because Shelley's kind of like saying he's full of shit. Then he's like, no, they standing wrong. So he agrees with him. Goes, oh, okay, I believe you. Yeah.
He was talking about the testicles one time, when he runs your finger up and then and to see if they have a hernia. Oh, it's hilarious. It really was. So
that was great. Yeah.
But that's what I'm talking about. You do these things out of the studio where you're relaxed and you're not really pressed for time, and you'll be surprised at some of the stuff you get. I mean, instead of trying to say, well, you need to say this and this and this and this. Well, I know Kevin's humor, but I can't make it up on the spot. So I just got him in the mood. And you're the coach. He put on a doctor's jacket. Oh, it's hilarious.
Great. Yeah.
I enjoyed it anyway. See, when I was booking, I would always do something that I enjoyed because I entertained myself. And I figured that if I was entertained, hell, there had to be some fans out there that were entertained too. It wasn't like exposing the business or anything. It's just talking a bunch of gaga bullshit. But that's what wrestling is anyway. I mean, I think a lot of people try to oversell it. It's this, it's this, it's this. No, it's not. It's telling a story. Now, this is when I go back saying I got all these gimmick matches on this card. You have to tell a story. Very few of them had some of them had stories because Vince's philosophy was do something with everybody and see who catches on. Well, when you do that, you're actually taking away from your main event guys because they've already seen it done maybe halfway by some preliminary guys. See, this business is not easy to learn. It's not. So you talk to some of these guys, oh, yeah, it was this. No, it's not. It's because I spent years trying to learn the secrets of bookers. Now, I've been around the greatest bookers in the world. Dusty was one. So he did a lot of stuff around himself. That's okay. You can still learn from Dusty. And Tom Ernesto, the old assassin, it was probably my first booker, and I used to drive him up and down the road, and I would ask him questions, and he would say this and this and this. Eddie Graham, which was another fantastic booker. Jerry Jarrett was another one. Even Lawler. Lawler was a good booker. But I think your best bookers were mostly down south. Jarrett, Lawler, Eddie Graham. And a guy that doesn't get his due when it comes to booking was Ron Fuller. Tremendous booker. I would tell you a story about his daddy, Buddy.
No.
Buddy, I worked several shows for Buddy, but he would say, okay, kid, come here. Say I'm in with you. He said, yeah, okay, you're in there with John today. And he said, man, I want you to get in there and I want you to beat the living shit out of that John. And John's trying to fight you back, but no, boom, boom, boom. Then he shows some life and boom, boom. And but when he's telling you, you're getting excited. You're going, Dad, yeah. And said, all of a sudden, you do something. He puts the boot up, whatever. Big scoop slam, bam, 1, 2, 3, and he gets his hand up. But when you hear that, you go, hell yeah, you're so excited. Now I'm wanting to go out there and put you over because he made it sound so good. But that's what you got to do. You got to make it good and you got to visualize it as well, and then go do it. So that's what I did a lot of times. I even told Ron one time, his son, I said, "Damn, Buddy would make you could be getting beat, and Buddy would make it sound so exciting that by the time he finished with the explanation of what was going to go on, you were ready to go. You wanted to go do it because he kind of excited you that much." So that's just an off the cuff story.
Yeah,
I do that sometimes. Okay, James Storm and Gail Kim. I think James went over, and then somehow I think James handcuffed Petey to the rope. For what reason? And he wanted Gail to give him like the beer bottle, and she refused to do it. She's out there in the heels corner, but no. And then him and Gail get into it, and I think she drops down and maybe gives him like a low blow, a nut shot or something. But she's slapping all over him, and then down comes Miss Jackie.
Yep.
And they do a number on Gail Kim. See, Dan, while that was going on, you see the first multi-woman, because I had been talking, I think, up to this point. When did the girls get there?
I think it's around this time, pretty much 07, 08. I think it's kind of when it starts flourishing.
I think, yeah. But anyway, then Jackie comes down there, and they beat the crap out of Gail. And then I forget that they brought in another name. Didn't what's her name? Hemi.
Oh, Christy Hemi.
What's her first name?
Christy.
Christy Hemi come down. Christy Hemi. She comes out and gets in the ring, I guess, and she's lambasting. Why are you doing this? Why? She brought up China's name. You remember this? Why not China? Where is China?
No, I don't remember that part.
And then she kind of gives some kind of, is it because you men run everything, blah, blah, blah. And I said, I didn't understand that at all. But I had 3 girls out there, so I had to start.
Yeah.
So now all I had to do was convince Jeff and Vince that we need to have a girls division and get them started. And once we got them started, they actually were the one putting the numbers up. You put Sting in Angular match, which is like a $10,000 match, I guess. May have been a $20,000 match. And they do a 2-6. I put Gail Kim and Kong together when they got hot. They did a 3-4.
Amazing.
And funny that nobody wanted the girls before they got there. Nobody, not even Vince. I don't know why. Seemed like that would be right up Vince's alley.
Definitely.
See what I mean?
Yeah.
And nobody wanted them. Even Dixie didn't much want them. So, but once I got them there and they started to get over, guess who had ideas for them? Everybody. I told the guys one day, I said, funny that nobody wanted these girls till they started doing numbers. Now everybody's got ideas for them. I said, I don't want to hear nothing. Leave them alone and let me handle them. And they did. So I handled them for a year and a half. And they did well.
Definitely.
What's our next one?
The Latin American Exchange, Homicide and Hernandez defeat Team 3D, Brother Ray and Brother Devon by disqualification in the tag match for the NWA World Tag Team Championship. The match goes about 10 minutes. DQ finish after your boy Brother Runt interferes.
Latin American Exchange, I hated that name. I mean, to the regular fan, Latin American Exchange, where's the heat? There's no heat. You know,
I
we
like
should have
LAX, but I don't like the you know what I mean? Like just shorten LAX, but I don't like Latin American Exchange saying it. Sounds weird.
LAX, but then you think California, which was okay. LAX,
think of that
California,
airport, yeah.
The airport.
Yeah.
But Latin American Exchange, you know, hey, let's don't get too technical here. Hell, you think most wrestling fans anywhere, you say Latin America, they say, where in the what the hell? What is that? So, but this match here just laid there. I think Bubba was not in a good mood that day. And I think he just went through the motions. Or he may not have liked the finish. And I don't know who came up with that finish. But I guess it was to get run on the show, I guess. But he was supposed to be drinking, and he may have been drinking. I don't know.
Yeah, it was like you're doing a drunk angle or whatever. It's a little bit weird.
Weird? It wasn't that good. Weird would have been an upgrade. And then we have Kurt Angle and Samoan Joe.
Yes.
30 minutes.
Iron Man match.
With 5 pins.
It's too much. Too much.
That's what I'm saying. Because we tried to put in 3 hours of a pay-per-view that should have been shorter. And they were really no angles here, to tell you the truth. I guess we had one in the end with Abyss and Sting and Christian. At this point, how long had Sting been there?
So
had he just come back
one
that
full
year?
1 full year, yep.
I think one of the questions you wrote me, were they too many WCW and WWE guys in there? Yep. I think so. A lot. Because my experience with those guys, when they come right from WWE, if you gave them a finish, they immediately didn't like it. Because if Vince gave them a finish or WWE gave them a finish, they were obligated to do it, or they could just walk out the door. But if TNA gave them a finish, now the guy's thinking, he's running it through 2 sets of lenses. He's running it through his lens in TNA. How will it affect him there? But at the same time, he's running it through the lens of WWE, watching it.
Right.
So not only is he determining one thing, he's trying to determine 2 at the same time. And I think a lot of them didn't. They tried to camouflage that. But I could tell what they were thinking. And in a way, I don't blame them. But if you come to work in TNA, hey, you got to do what the play calls for. So, and that was an issue later on, a big issue. So, and then the last match was, who did you say it was?
Christian Cage, Abyss, and Sting in a 3-way elimination match for the NWA World Heavyweight title, going 13 minutes.
Is a very prestigious title, by the way, the NWA title.
Yes.
And Abyss, Sting, and Christian, again, I don't know why Abyss, he was a champion. He went out first.
Yeah, why is that? Why did you guys work it that way? That's odd.
There's my dog.
Yeah, he didn't like it either. Yeah, he's an Abyss fan.
What he's trying to tell you right now. He said it was the dog's way out, he said. Stop it. So I'm thinking, if I had the zombie apocalypse, that dog could save me right there.
But why would it be
out
first, though? That's weird.
I don't know. This is what I think. We would give them talent sometimes a finish. They didn't like it. Then all afternoon it was a roundabout. They would go to Vince. I don't like this. Then he'd say, go to Jeff. They'd go to Jeff, and Jeff say, go see Dutch. We just played musical chairs. They would go and go and go and go. I remember we did one with Booker T one day. I bet he went around at least 2 good laps around. Finally, I said, hey, do what you want to do. I said, I don't care. We're going to end up in the same spot. I don't give a crap. Do what you want to do, okay? Just make sure the cameraman knows. I mean, we were going to end up in the same spot, but he wanted to do it a certain way because he thought he didn't look strong as he should, and I understand that. So just see if you can find you a way that you look good. So this is TNA at that time. We were coming up on a run, but then you hit a. Remember, I told you it's like a football game, preparing for a football game.
Yep.
And all of a sudden, you go out there on the field, you get the crap beat out of you. You didn't intend for it to happen, but it does. Football games, basketball games, and this was a bad outing for TNA. Everybody worked hard, played hard, but it's not up to us. It's up to fans. And so the fans can sit back all day long and say, no, that was stupid and that's stupid. It's like football fans. Oh, that coach is stupid. They don't even know they should fire him. Seen it a million times. But so you take all that and you try to learn from it and go back and reset and go at it again the next pay-per-view. Any more questions?
So Abyss loses. Don't you think that makes him look really weak? Because then it's the WWE guy Christian against the WCW guy Sting in the final. But I don't know, it's kind of making the TNA guy look weak. Like he came in as champion. He doesn't even play a factor in the finish because he's already eliminated from the match.
Well, like I said, the guys in the match, they didn't care about what organization looked good. They were just looking at themselves.
Right.
And I think, so if Christian was going to go over, Sting, he couldn't have went out first.
Right. True.
He wouldn't have agreed to it. No, I'm Sting. I wouldn't go out first. So Christian's winning, so he can't even go out, period. So it was between Abyss and Sting. So therefore, Abyss, yeah, it didn't make him look good. Again, It's a gimmick match without having to be.
Right.
See what I mean? I think if I had to do that finish, I think Abyss should have went out, I think, by an injury. Like over the top rope or something, and his leg is hurt, and he can't make it in there. He just gets counted out, so you leave those two guys out, and then they take him out. But you got to watch a monster getting hurt like that, because that hurts him too.
Yep.
But it just laid out wrong.
It seemed like it killed Abyss's momentum, and then Christian just beat Sting. It kind of kills Sting's momentum. I don't know. I just didn't care for it really. I wasn't a fan of the finish.
Maybe we should book it again and call it Momentum Killer.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah, we can kill you off in like 3 minutes.
Yeah.
I mean, we were good at that. We could kill everybody off. So what was one of your other questions?
Whose idea was it for the Angle versus Joe Iron Man match? Because I don't particularly like that either, because not only does Joe loses 3 times. After he was undefeated for that whole time, he's like this monster, and then, he's going to lose 3 times in a half hour to Kurt Angle.
Well, that was another, remember I said I was disappointed in the execution of it?
Yep.
Because I don't think at that point, that was probably another thing that got changed. Because our management wasn't that strong. I mean, we're not Vince. Vince said, God damn it, do what I tell you to do.
Right.
Okay. I got that. But sometimes they would even go to Dixie and said, I don't know what these, and it's all soft soap. It's, I don't know what these guys want me to do. Do you think I should do this? Well, no, I don't think you should do it. No. And she'd agree with them, but she was actually undermining us at the same time. I don't even think she realized she did it. But that's what you get when your management is not strong. We didn't have. See, I wasn't the leader because if I said something and then somebody changed it, what's that make me look like?
Right.
Dutch has no power. And if Jeff changes and then somehow they go to Dixie, see what I mean? And then it gets changed, what's that make him look like?
Yep.
So if you don't have that strong leader like Vince or some of the head guys there used to be, Pat Patterson and all that, you don't have control over your talent. But I don't care if you had you know, control out the butt here if you had them all chained up. With this pay-per-view, they worked hard, but it just didn't come off right. I think people they left it not looking forward to anything, because that's what the pay-per-view should lead you to the next one, or at least to let you watch TV or Impact. When was Impact on? It was on Thursday, right?
Yeah.
Thursday at 10,
Yep.
was it? Or 9?
I think it was at 9. Was it 9 to 11? 2-hour spot.
Maybe.
With
sometimes
Joe,
it was a pretty good show. With Joe, I don't know who came up with that.
So who's like against pushing him? Because it seems like he was getting this big push, and all of a sudden, it almost like it just got killed. He's the face of the pay-per-view on the poster. It says Joe's going to kill you, and all of a sudden, like he's just getting kind of de-pushed a little bit. It seems like.
Well, possibly, but I know what we were going to do with him. He was going to go up against Angle one more time, and he was going to lose or get counted out or something. He wouldn't get the belt. And then finally, when we did a record pay-per-view buy, it's what I heard. It was in that Delaware town or Dover or somewhere up north. And that was when Joe promised that if he didn't win, he'd quit the business. You remember that?
Mm-hmm. Wasn't it Lockdown, the cage match in Boston, when he finally won the title or finally beat Angle?
I don't think it was Boston, but it was somewhere up in there. Was it a cage? I don't think it was a cage match either. It was a straight up match, regular rules, and he said, if I don't win, I'm going to walk away from wrestling. Which brings up another story. Dixie called me in her office one time. She says, whose idea was it for Joe to say that if I don't win, I'm going to quit the business? I said, well, that would be my idea. Right. She said, well, why did you tell him to say that? I said, well, Dixie, no saying in wrestling. They'll pay to see the babyface win. They won't pay to see him lose. So with him saying that, it was almost a guarantee that he was going over. But yet they don't really know, they don't really feel that firmly, but they said, well, he's got to win this one, or what is he going to do? So, and she said, but don't you think that's giving away the finish? And I told her, an old-time booker told me a long time ago, sometimes you want to give away the finish. And he did. I heard the biggest buy rate they ever did up to that point. And it was just a regular straight-up match with one step in it. And it was that if he doesn't win the title, that he'll walk away from wrestling. Now, see, the people can kind of believe that. Because if you come back on the show, you'd have to. You ever be watching a Netflix series and they do something, and then you say, "You ever watch Succession?"
Never seen it, no, but I heard it was great.
It's tremendous, but every time they end a show, man, they do like the last 10 minutes is just the big angle for the next show. And a lot of times that show has gone off, and I would say, now how in the hell are they going to get out of this one? I mean, it's almost like the end of the show, but you know the guy's going to pull some strings. He's politically connected anyway. And sometimes he gets out of that little jam, but he goes right back into another. A good show. See, they stopped producing it 1 year because of the pandemic, but an excellent show. Excellent show.
I got to check that out.
You remember a woman, I saw a pay-per-view last night. It's called Reinventing Anna or Inventing Anna. Her name was Anna Sorokin. And she was just a girl from Russia that went to Germany and then immigrated to the United States. And she somehow got to moving in a crowd of socialites and with big money people. And she almost got a loan for $20 million to start a business in New York City.
Oh my God.
I don't know how, and they say it's a true story. But I like one of their sayings at the start of the show. this is the true story, except for the stuff we kind of made up. I actually put that in I think my first book, it might have been my second book. All these stories are true except for the stuff I just kind of come off, just made it up to make the story better. But I put my disclaimer there anyway. So any more questions about this, John?
No, I think I'm good.
All right. Well, and we've gone 1 hour, and I've explained this pay-per-view the best I can.
It's not a great one. Not a great show.
Well, according to what you're looking for, too. I mean,
had its moments and a great talent on the card, but just, I don't know, just kind of overbooked a little bit and too many gimmick matches.
Well, that's your opinion, John.
Yes, that's true. Just my opinion.
And I don't give a crap what you. No, but TNA they had a lot of more internal problems than people heard about. So, I mean, when you went into the office, you'd sit down and for a long time, we even stopped going to the office to do creative because Jeff said Dixie would, and she would. She'd be sticking her head in the room every 10 minutes. Jeff, can I see you? Can I see you? Can I see you? You can't work like that. I mean, he's the one going to have to sign off on it because he was part owner.
Yep.
And me and Vince were coming up with the ideas. So, and the questions you asked me, I answered truthfully, except for the ones I lied on. So, but since I don't have a lie detector on, you will never know that.
True. Good point.
See, and a lot of people they don't know what it takes to put on the pay-per-view. I don't even know how the pay-per-view business actually works after it leaves the studio. It goes to a company, and they distribute it, and that's why it takes so long to get your money from a pay-per-view. Because say you do a pay-per-view in February, well, they don't even know what it does to March. I mean, the final. And then they distribute the funds in April, figure it up, and then you get your money in May. 3 months. That's when the pay-per-view checks used to come in WWE. It took you 90 days.
Wow.
So if you needed money before that 90 days is up, you're kind of screwed.
Right. Yeah.
I mean, Vince would help you out if he liked you. So, but so send me the link.
Yep.
So I can put this on all my social media stuff. And I had a good article I'm going to send you.
Oh, I like
about
that.
When I first got into the business. This is just a story. But I'm a pretty good storyteller.
No doubt, yeah.
And true story about this fan got up one time and hit me for no reason. I didn't have no heat. He just hit me. He didn't like me, I guess. And boy, we had one hell of a fight. So send me that. And what are we doing next week?
Against All Odds. Let me see what year. I believe it is.
This is not Final Resolution again?
No, it's going to be Against All Odds 2005.
Is that a good one?
God, I hope so.
Oh, we've had a few. TNA had a few good ones.
Oh, they really did, yeah. Especially 05 to 07. I mean, maybe not this one, but they did have a lot of good shows.
Well, again, I'm gonna kind of equate this with a football team. Football teams are going, and then they go up, and they have a good year, and then all of a sudden, and you've seen WWE do the same thing. WWE goes up and up and up, and boy, they're on top of the world, and then they do something, and something happens. Okay, let's bring up something that's current. Cody Rhodes, think he's going to WWE?
Yes, for sure.
I think Cody Rhodes, if I was him, what I would do, I would say, well, I'm kind of because his name is Rhodes, I was privileged from the beginning. And I always wondered, would I be good enough to do it on my own? Because years ago, guys would change territories. They wouldn't stay in the territory 7 or 8 years. They'd go there, stay there a year, then they'd have to leave. They'd have to go somewhere else. I think Cody is what he should say is, I just wanted to know, could I make it somewhere else? And I would even talk about AEW. You know, Vince had that rule for years. Don't mention the competition. But I think he's kind of over that now, don't you think?
Yeah, definitely. He's mentioned definitely a bunch of shows on his show.
So, anyway, any more questions?
That is it.
All right, brother. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, you heard my co-host, Dr. John, say, bar is closed. Get the F out. So we're leaving. John, I'm not tipping you worth a crap because you were rude to me and my friends. So everybody, I enjoy doing this. If you have any questions, email me at Dirty Dutch on under my name there, Dirty Dutch Mantell with 2 L's at gmail.com. And I'll see you next week. Right, John?
Absolutely. See you next week.